Hey, good evening, everybody. Neil79 with the Survivalist Mindset here. We're going to have a conversation tonight about bugging out versus bugging in. I alluded to this in a previous video. I was going to talk about this, and no time like the present to go ahead and do that. Bugging out versus bugging in is going to depend a lot on what your personal situation is. I'm not going to sit here and dictate to you or to anybody else and tell them what they should and should not do. I am not going to say, your thought process, your preparedness level is wrong, you're going about it wrong. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to throw some things out there, give you some ideas, some things to think about. Obviously, if you're a single person, your philosophy, your plan may be different than that of someone with a family. Personally, I am married. I have 2 little boys. I am kind of one of these prepper / outdoorsman survival type guys. Just to give you a little background on myself, I spent several years in the Army, so there's that part of me. I love to be outside. I like hunting, fishing, camping. It's really hard to keep me indoors. It really is. However, with that being said, I do have a wife and 2 children to think about. And I have found in recent years, since my boys have been born, I don't go out as often as I would like, simply because they're still very young. And with that said, I've found myself, especially recently, becoming more and more of a prepper than, let's say, a bug outer, for lack of a better term. So if things got bad, bugging in is my first inclination right now. And the reason for that is all of my preps are here. It'd be very hard for me to strap a year's worth of water and food to my back and run out into the woods. It'd be equally as hard to leave it behind, knowing that I could use that to keep my family alive for a little while longer. My first option is to stay here in my home with my preps and try to ride out the situation. It's easier to defend a home and land that you know than it is to defend a campsite that you don't. Here I have neighbors who I know, been around here a long time. I'm not going to say they're all preppers because they probably aren't, but at least in this area, knowing who's coming and going is a good thing. We don't live in the big city. We live about an hour outside of Kansas City. My thought process would be people in cities, maybe you ought to think about bugging out. You ought to probably have you a place, friends, family, somewhere, not in the city. Because let's face it, if contagious disease broke out on an epidemic or pandemic scale, if the economy collapsed, if we got involved in some sort of a nuclear biological war where bombs were flying back and forth, hell, even more scary than that, just an EMP could seriously cripple this country. Those type of things, if you're in the city, it's going to be much, much harder for you unless you have already prepped up a lot. You have a lot of food, water. Water is a killer here, guys. Let's face it. You've all probably heard somewhere at some time the law of threes. You can go 3 minutes without air. You can go three days without water. You can go 3 weeks without food. Water's a big one. In the city, I think that there's going to be mobs going to the stores, looting, possibly going house to house. Your best bet would probably be to bug out. Personally, I don't live in the city. There are plans in place for family members to bug out to this location. And from here, we'll try to ride it out, live off our preps until we can get back around to a situation where it's somewhat more controllable. If we did have to leave here, that is an option, and it's not something that is completely outside of the realm of possibilities. I do have a bug out bag for myself and for my family. I do have ideas on places to go. That would probably be a game day decision. However, that being said, bugging in, especially if you are prepped and you think about things ahead of time, keep that survivalist mindset. The whole reason, guys, that I'm making this series of videos is to not to preach, not to condemn, just to keep an open mind. The object of the game is not to see who has the biggest gun, to see who has the nicest backpack, to see who can make a fire the fastest. The object of the game is to stay alive, and having the skills, of course, the gear, sure, but the mindset, the thought process of what survival means. And that's a pretty broad term, survival. We're doing it every day, whether you want to think you are or not. You're surviving. You're putting food, calories into your mouth. You're breathing air and you're drinking water. You're surviving. And that's the intention, to stay alive. And having that kind of mindset, what can I do to stay alive? And in my situation, that staying alive would probably be better served staying indoors, letting the craziness that's going on around me go on, staying indoors, eating our food, drinking our water, defending it if we need to, rather than intentionally putting ourselves into harm's way by going out. It's all about ratios. Let's say, do I have a bigger ratio, or do I have a better chance of getting injured or hurt or killed going out or staying in? And when that scale is tipped, when it's no longer safe to be in, when the risk involved with going out far outweighs the benefit of staying in with all, we know we have food, we know we have water. When that scale is tipped, then it's time to go. And for each one of you and for me, that's going to be a different time with different contributing factors. Just something to think about. Think about your own situation. Prep if you can. If you got space, do it. You don't have to get crazy. You don't have to spend a lot of money to start with. Start with water. I promise you, water's would be a prized commodity. Start with water. Get you some food, and then evolve. The biggest prep you can make. The biggest prep you can make is not how many bullets you save up or how many silver coins you keep in your vault. The biggest prep you can make is right here. Getting your mind right, understanding what can happen, how you can overcome it. Think about situations. Think about different situations a day and come up with a plan to overcome that hurdle. As you're doing this, you're conditioning your mind so that when something happens that's out of our control, that's game-changing, when a game-changing situation occurs, your first inclination won't be to panic because your mind is conditioned in such a way that you are ready to accept what's going on and move on, therefore staying alive. It's the people that panic, the people who are not prepared, the people who don't want to believe, who want to live in a fantasy world. Those are the people that are going to get hit with shock. Oh my God. And they'll pause, they'll freeze, they won't know what to do. And they're going to create problems for themselves and problems for everyone else. The more of you, the more of us that can get our minds straight, that can be mentally prepared, and that's the whole title of this channel, is survivalist mentality. Get your mind conditioned, exercised, prepared to handle what's going to be coming into it. The more of us that get on that bandwagon, the better, because we are the ones that are going to rebuild if need be. We're the ones that are going to get our families through. So don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged. Just keep on keeping on. That's all I can say. And remember, the only certainty in life is change. God bless. I'll talk to you again soon.